Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. We are back. I'm Laura. This is Alex, and welcome back to Brave Love at Home. We have a really good webisode for you. You may hear some cats meowing or babies crying in the background. Apologies for that. This is Brave Love at Home. So, Alex, take it away.
Yeah, so today's episode is really, it's with an interview with our friend Christy over at Lifeline. And maybe you are an expectant mom or not an expectant mom, but you don't really know how the process works for reaching out to an adoption agency. You know, what does that process look for a woman that is pursuing adoption or just thinking about adoption? Mm-hmm. What does that timeline look like? Like, what's her first step? What's her final step before placement? There's a lot to it. And there's wonderful agencies out there like Lifeline that work with women and help women and facilitate the adoption process. And so Christy today is just sharing kind of those steps in the process and what it looks like. And it's a great conversation. She gives a lot of great insight and really takes away that mystery that's often kind of surrounding that process. So it's really helpful and really informational and educational. And informal too.
And informal too. We hope you enjoy. Everybody, this is Christy Harmon with Lifeline Children's Services, and Lifeline is one of our partner agencies. Anywho, Christy, we're glad you're with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Alex, go for it.
Okay, Christy, can you just tell everyone watching a little bit about Lifeline and what's your role there, where are you guys located, and who all do you serve?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are an agency that was started back in the 80s, and we were actually started with the heart of being able to care for women who are facing an unexpected pregnancy and wanting to connect them to families that were really well equipped to understand what adoption is and be able to not just care for a baby well, but to be able to really love on and care for that birth mom and value her as a really important piece of that child's story and as a part of their adoption journey as well. And so we started back in the 80s and have been doing adoptions ever since then. And we just are so thankful to be able to have an incredible team of pregnancy counselors that gets to meet with women who are considering their options for their pregnancy. Some of them are super confident about adoption. Some of them just aren't really sure what they're going to do yet. And we love meeting them where they are either way. We have adoption or pregnancy counselors in 9 different states, and I am the pregnancy counseling director. So I get to hang out with all of our pregnancy counselors and just encourage them and talk through cases with them and help them figure out how they can best care for each of our birth moms that we're working with. So that's kind of a little bit about Lifeline, a little bit about me.
Today, we wanted to talk to you because we wanted you to kind of share with those listening what it looks like, what the adoption process really looks like for an expectant mom. And so we thought you could walk us through sort of step by step what that can look like for a woman that may be in an unplanned pregnancy, maybe she's considering adoption, and let's say she does contact Lifeline. Can you just walk us through what she could expect, her kind of relationship to look like with you all, but then overall just that adoption process, sort of beginning to end?
Well, women contact us in all different ways. Sometimes it's through email, sometimes it's a phone call, sometimes it's a text message. And our first and foremost, our goal is to just hear her story, because if somebody is considering adoption, then they probably have a story that they need to just have told and have a counselor listen to them. And so we have a team that just spends a lot of time just listening and caring for them kind of in that initial stage of considering adoption. And it is our heart to be able to meet face to face whenever possible. And so maybe that first person on the call will connect them with whoever is their closest pregnancy counselor. And then we get together with them. And sometimes that's meeting at our office, at one of our offices, and we have counseling rooms there. Or sometimes it's meeting at McDonald's or Starbucks or park or wherever is kind of closest to them so that we can start the journey. And, we have women that call us and they just found out they're pregnant. And then we have women that they call us and they're at the hospital, they just had a baby. And it's never too late to start the adoption process or start considering your options or to get support in just the fear of feeling a little bit alone in your pregnancy. And so whenever we get that first call, the first thing we're going to do is start with options counseling, because just because somebody's confident about adoption doesn't mean that they have all the facts about adoption that they need to be able to make that decision. And so I always tell our team, our first goal is to just slow down the process and listen to them, hear their story, and then share truthful information about what adoption is, how it is they're in the driver's seat. So they're going to be the ones to choose the family. They're going to be the ones to choose what kind of openness they want, if they want, visits, or if they want pictures and letters, or what that's going to look like. And, just kind of understanding that it's a very permanent decision, but it doesn't need to be a closed decision. So they can still have that relationship, even though we have mom and dad who they've chosen, and then they're a birth parent and going to be an important player in your child's life in that way. And so once they've kind of decided, okay, I want to move in the direction towards an adoption plan, there is some paperwork that they get to do, and I am just a big fan of having somebody else help with that paperwork. So some women that call, they're like, give me all the paperwork, and they want to do it all themselves. And then other people kind of rely on that counselor to help them walk through that paperwork. But just some simple background information about them so that we can have their child be matched with a family that's a really good fit for them.
Sure.
And so then they're going to start that matching process. And that matching process is a really fun and nerve-wracking time where the way we do it, we actually have give the family a little bit of information about our birth moms and what they're wanting in an adoption plan. So let's say that girl is wanting a fully open adoption. She's wanting a direct email relationship. She's wanting to have, visits twice a year. She's wanting all of these things. We want to make sure that we're showing her families and that she's choosing from families who also want those same things.
Totally.
So we kind of give some information about birth mom or expectant mom to the families, and then the families say, yes, we love this girl. We think she's a great fit for our family. We want our profile book to be shown to her.
Got it.
And so then at that point, once we have a list of families, then our expectant moms get to look through those profile books of families who've already said yes to her.
Yeah.
So a profile book it can be online. Sometimes we have some families that have like online profiles, but we actually have them print out like a scrapbook, like one of those Shutterfly books or something like that, so that she can hold those books and look at them and read them and take them home with her if she wants to just really think through and consider what family is best. And then the way things happen at that point, it just depends on what the expectant mom wants.
Sure.
So some women, they're like, I found my dream family in these profile books. For sure, this is the family I want to be matched with, and that she's super confident just based on looking at the profile book. Other women, they narrow it down to 2 or 3 families, and they're still not sure. And so then we set up meetings with the families, either virtually, kind of like what we're doing right now if the family is far away, or in person if the families are closer. And that can be a really great way to just narrow it down. Or some girls that have just some specific questions for families based on their book, and so we ask the families those questions, or maybe she wants a letter written, answering those questions. So it can just happen so many different ways. But the main thing is that whatever we can do for her to make her feel confident and to feel like she knows the family, that's what we want to do.
Got it.
So then sometimes she gets to meet the family, and that's something she wants to do, which those meetings are so fun, and it is just crazy, Laura and Alex, how often the family and expectant mom have something in common that they didn't even know about. And I don't know, I just love seeing how God puts families and expectant moms together in just such cool ways. And then we start walking through kind of the hospital plan and preparing for hospital time, walking through what paperwork will be signed at that point, thinking about, does she want to hold the baby? Does she want a nurse? Does she want the family to be present when she's delivering? Does she want the baby to never even see the baby and want the baby to go directly to the family? So every girl's different, and there's not right and wrong in these types of things. It's just very much based on the individual preference.
And I love that when you said like she's in the driver's seat, she is really the one getting to make all of these decisions as to what she wants that hospital experience to look like. So I love that. Carry on.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that's really important, and that's something that expectant moms, they deserve that. And our job, our team's job is to guide them in what decisions they have to make, so that they're just not Googling online and trying to figure it out on their own. Like, they need that support in that. But our expectant moms are incredible, and just they can make those decisions based on what's best for them and their baby.
Mm-hmm. During that matching process, the expectant mom, she has her own caseworker. She has, can you kind of explain, is there a different counselor or caseworker for those adoptive families?
Yes.
So that it's not one caseworker that's working with both. Can you kind of clarify that?
That's a really important question, because it is so important that she has her own advocate. And so we have a team of pregnancy counselors that only work with expectant moms and don't really have any interaction with adopting families. Adopting families have their own worker. And what is so cool about that is that then if the expectant mom, she's been working with us and thinking about her options, and then decides, hey, I don't really think adoption is the best choice for me, then that pregnancy counselor can celebrate that for her and can get her connected to parenting resources and can support her in that new journey she's taking, and not be heartbroken for a family because she needs her own support. And the family has that support too if they're already in that matching process.
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important, we don't typically match families and expectant moms until closer to their third trimester. So we can have a really good, strong relationship with her, and so that she can really think through her options and isn't feeling pressured to make an adoption decision because she knows there's this family that she's matched with and that is hoping for a baby.
Sure.
And so we want to make sure that she's super confident, and not that she can't change her mind after she's matched with a family, but I've just seen that puts a little bit of pressure on that precious expectant mom that, oh my goodness, like I don't feel as comfortable to change my mind. And so that's
got it
too. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So back to the hospital.
Yeah. Hospital time is just really heavy. And it is such a sacred time to just be in the presence of a new human being. But it's just a really heavy time. And I've seen so many, I've just never seen such a time of love, yet grief at the same time. And so it's always heavy, no matter what it looks like. But sometimes expectant mom wants her family and friends and want that support system there. And then other expectant moms would rather just have their pregnancy counselor there. And so it just kind of depends on what her desires are, depending on how involved we are. But I've spent the night at the hospital with an expectant mom as she's delivering, just because she really wanted that added support. And then other times the family's actually there during the delivery time, and that's not the choice that every expectant mom makes, but it is something that some of them feel more comfortable with. And so in every state, the laws are different as to when she can sign the legally binding paperwork and who has to be present. In some states, the only person that's there is the pregnancy counselor or the caseworker. And so it's just her and the caseworker. Other times there needs to be an attorney there or a notary, and or in some states, like in Georgia, they need 2 witnesses. And so I just always encourage expectant moms that they have the right to get their own legal counsel that's separate from the adopting family. And so we have an attorney, we always will connect an expectant mom to their own attorney if they have legal questions, or if they just need help understanding any of the pieces of the legal side of things. But sometimes it can just be them and their caseworker. And so I think one of the big things to really think through when you're kind of preparing for that hospital time is, what does that bonding time look like with that baby? And anybody who's had a baby before knows that 9 months you're bonding that whole time. So there's, and some women feel that more strongly than others. But definitely that time in the hospital can be a really beautiful time to just look at your baby and say to yourself, this is just something that I'm doing for you because I love you, rather than this is something I'm doing to you because I don't want you. And I think I've never ever been in a hospital where I've seen a girl that has that attitude or that feels that way. I'm doing this to you because I don't want you. It is always, I'm doing this for you because I love you. And it's the hard road for sure. And so signing paperwork is really hard. Oftentimes you have to read the paperwork line by line, and she's signing her name a million times. And there's a lot of grief.
Can I interrupt you? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Does she typically see this paperwork before this day?
Yes. I always encourage all of our team to have a separate meeting where you talk through the paperwork that you're going to sign, so that she's not blindsided by anything. And in almost every state, if you're signing something that's saying that you're not being paid or coerced to do this, that you're doing it of your own will, and then something that's saying that you are signing over and relinquishing your parental rights. And then in every state, it's different as to whether there's a time period where she can revoke her parental rights.
Right.
But I think that if you are hesitant, then don't sign any paperwork. If there is something in your spirit that's just not that fear of, am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Like, there's always going to be the grief. But if there's that hesitancy of, I don't know if this is the right decision, then just don't sign anything and wait till you feel just that release to be able to move forward with it. So, yeah. And then after signing, sometimes signing happens at the hospital, in the hospital room, and then other times it happens after hospital time. If you have a time frame in your state that's saying it's longer than 48 hours or 36 hours or something like that, sometimes it has to be done outside of the hospital time. But at that point, it's going to look different. Sometimes the family has the baby. Sometimes the baby goes into something called interim care, where if you have a time to change your mind, the baby's being taken care of by somebody who is not the family, so that, again, there's not that pressure to, if you change your mind, you're taking the baby out of the arms of a family. So that's hospital time. And then after that comes the beautiful and hard journey of just that grief care and support. And we have a Facebook group that's just a really sweet, close-knit community of birth moms from all different agencies and all over the country. But that, when you first enter that group, they just are so good at loving on the new birth mamas.
Mm-hmm.
And then, meeting with your counselor. Some women go to professional counseling if, there's just a lot of other things that come up in that grief time. And it's just so important to be honest about where you are in that season. But that's a beautiful and hard time where you're seeing just what that grief is going to look like and trying to figure out what a new normal is looking like for you.
Sure. Thanks for walking through that. That's helpful. And I imagine really helpful to those watching too. I do have a couple other questions. So what about if an expectant mom comes to you all and maybe she already has a family in mind that she wants to place her child with? How does that work?
Yeah. So I think it's important to know two things. One is that there are a lot of women who feel that pressure of I need to find a family.
Mm-hmm.
And so just know that there are hundreds and hundreds of waiting families that are prepared, that have a home study, that have all those things. And so if you're in a position where you are wanting to place for adoption and feel like you need to post on Facebook about that or something like that, I just want you to know, like, you don't have to do that. That doesn't have to be your job. But if you have a family in mind that you love and that you have that relationship with and you trust them and you already feel like that's a good fit for you, then I still think it's super important to get the support of, your own legal counsel or an agency that can help you with that process.
Yeah.
Because even if you know and love that family, it's important to have somebody that can help kind of mediate that and talk about what are the boundaries going to be? How is your relationship going to change once this adoption happens? What is this going to look like in 10 years, 15 years, when your child is a little bit older?
Right.
And so we just help. If there's an expectant mom, then who already has a family, we're going to kind of help her think through what does she love about this family and why is she choosing this family, and then try to get connected with the family so that we can help kind of some of that mediation and that care that is helpful. And then obviously there's a lot of paperwork, and so sometimes it's better to just get an attorney to help if it's just you need to you feel great about that relationship and you're not worried about somebody being in between. But if you need that mediation and that support, then I always think it's important to reach out to an adoption professional if you're an expectant mom.
Yeah, that's great. Alex, did you have any other questions?
I did, kind of on top of your question, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
What if, maybe this expectant mom, she either came to you guys with family in mind or she's been kind of matched with a family. What happens if she changes her mind about the family? What goes on from there?
Well, and that's something that is absolutely her right. Adoption is not final until it's final from a legal standpoint.
Sure.
And so that's one reason why I think it's really important to be very slow in the process, especially in choosing a family. Because if a woman needs to meet several families and talk with them and ask them questions, again, if there's any hesitancy, I think it's important to just speak that out loud, because it can be, Alex, it can be so hard for a person who's already matched to say that. Like, I don't feel good about moving forward, but how important is it to say that? And if that happens, then that is so beautiful to have that happen when there can be a change rather than 10 years down the road and that regret kind of seeps in. So take that, and then, and sometimes it means that she wants a parent, and that's one thing, and that's wonderful. But if she just doesn't like the family, then we'd start that matching process again, and she would just.
So, can you talk to us a little bit about what you all offer and what's available at Lifeline, just with that for birth moms in particular, because the grief and the loss is obviously a serious and real thing for all those, that are involved in the adoption. But for birth moms, it's a really unique and different kind of loss. And so, will you just tell us a little bit about the post-adoption support you all make available to your birth moms?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the most important thing is that you can call us anytime. I have a birth mom that she placed 18 years ago, and we still meet monthly, just face to face, get coffee, and just talk about what's good in her life and hard in her life. Sometimes adoption related, sometimes totally not. And so just, reaching out and getting that support. We had a birth mom last week who called us, and she placed 23 years ago and was just having a really hard grief day.
Yeah.
And so she got to talk to one of our pregnancy counselors. And, I think the adoption world is such a foreign world to so many people. And so just knowing that you can call somebody, knowing that there's somebody there.
Wow.
And we have a 24/7 helpline that's not just for expectant moms, but also for our post-adoption moms as well. And so, yes, our counselors, our social workers are available, but also I think it can be even more helpful to talk to an expectant or a birth mom who's been there, who is maybe a little bit further along in her journey, her post-adoption journey. And so we are often matching expectant moms that are maybe a little, ooh, there's my cat. Sorry. Dumped up.
Brave love at home. That's what this
is. Definitely at home. Y'all just got to meet little Doug.
I love it.
And so we oftentimes are matching women and just helping them kind of get connected to somebody that may have a little bit of a similar story. And a lot of times that happens through our Facebook birth mom community.
Okay.
And our birth mom community, we have women who are in all over the country, and who are in all different stages of their grief and loss. Some of them are really struggling with anger, and they wish they had a place. And then others feel like adoption is the best thing that ever happened to them. And no matter where somebody is, I think that's a really safe and beautiful place to process that, just with other women who've been there and who may have experienced that. And so I'm thankful for that. We've had in-person support groups from time to time, but just, where to have that to meet the needs of everybody. And so that online venue has been really, really a sweet place to gather together. So those are a few of our things. And we have professional counselors at Lifeline as well that we've had a couple of birth moms who've reached out, and they just are really wanting that professional counseling, or even we had one birth mom who got play therapy for her other child who she decided not to place. And that was really beautiful to help them process that loss as well, because a lot of our birth moms have other children that they're parenting. And part of the reason they place is because they want what's best for their child that they're placing, and also to be the best parent possible for their kiddos that they're currently parenting.
Yeah. That's great. So what is looking different for you all these days during these COVID times? So, obviously hospital experiences can look a little bit different. Anything else, ways that you all are having to kind of adapt right now that I'd be interested to hear. Yeah.
Well, my coworker has whiskers now, so that there's one. It has been so unique. We've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings, even with clients. We are still meeting face to face with clients and just doing it outside a lot, like doing 6 feet apart, and trying to do the best we can to maintain that social distancing. Hospitals, thankfully, we've had no problems with going into the hospitals. We just are more having to do that in kind of a structured way. So not as been able to be there for as many labors and deliveries as
Sure.
normal. Because oftentimes there's only one support person allowed in the room, just depending on the state. But thankfully, we've been able to be there, go into the hospitals at all.
That's great.
And I don't know, it's just day to day trying to figure out how to care for each client and meet them where they are and on their comfort level. And so yeah, we're just trying to figure it out as everybody else is.
Totally. Christy, thank you. This has been enlightening and just really, really helpful. And I know those watching think so too, but we're grateful for the work you do. And thanks for kind of walking us through what that adoption process looks like for an expectant mom. So keep up your great work, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. So
yeah, thank you. We love Brave Love so much, and so grateful for the work that you guys do to care for all of our first moms. So thank you.
Absolutely. You have a good day. We'll talk again.
Christy.
Okay,
Bye. Well, we hope you enjoyed that conversation. And I just wanted to mention Christy is with one agency. There are lots of different adoption agencies out there. And so she kind of spoke to her experience and the experiences and services that they provide. So some agencies do things a little bit differently, but overall, we hope that that was helpful and informative to you. So thanks for watching. Keep watching. More conversations to come. Bye.